Rockin' North America, the Caribbean, and Europe. It's LA Lloyd Rock 30.
Hey, it is L.A. Lloyd, and we got Slash to co-host the Rock 30 today. He's back for his 5th appearance on the show. Slash, good to see you again, man, and thanks for doing this today via Zoom.
Yeah, man, it's, the whole Zoom thing is very different. Yeah, it's good to be here.
It kind of feels a little CNN-ish, if you will, man.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah, no politics today, I promise, man.
Yeah,
but a big weekend for your fans. I mean, a lot of news has unfolded as of October 22nd. First of all, a new song called The River is Rising. We'll be discussing the upcoming tour with you and Myles and the Conspirators in February and March. Another Gibson guitar / custom line coming up, and even some vinyl / figurines. So let's jump right into the first thing, man. There's a lot to cover here. I wanted to talk about the new Gibson guitar / custom line coming, man, because, I mean, that last one was just beautiful. And so what are you looking to do this time around?
Well, I mean, when you say that last one, you're talking about this was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Just wanted to make sure we're clear. This one is actually the first line of Gibson USAs that I've actually ever done. I've always done stuff through Custom Shop, mostly because Gibson, not too long ago, was going through so many kind of weird internal changes with designs and priorities and, focus and so on, that I just did everything through the Custom Shop. But now that Gibson's been taken over by a new person, and he's running the company, everything's gotten Gibson back to focus. And so this is a really cool line of Les Paul standards and a gold top that I'm doing through the USA.
Wow, that's very cool.
That's cool. I'm very happy to be doing that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those. I've been reading a lot about the new album 4 that was recorded in Nashville, pretty much right in the middle of the pandemic. And, everything I've read about it was, I think all of you except maybe one came down with COVID, but you somehow managed to get like 90% of it recorded in the first week. So what was this like, man? Obviously, you were trying to be safe, but COVID is a bitch, man, and it just attacks everyone.
Well, I'd managed to keep myself uninfected, I guess, up until that point. What happened was we decided, okay, we're going to go make this record, and we're going to do it in Nashville, and we're going to let's get a tour bus and take that as opposed to trying to fly commercial over there. Mm-hmm. So we met the bus in Vegas because most of the guys live in Vegas. I drove out to Vegas and I met the bus in LA and then took the bus to Vegas, and we all met at a doctor's office over there, and we all got tested and everybody was negative. We got on the bus and we drove to Nashville and we loaded in our gear, and the next morning we went in and we recorded everything live. So we did 2 songs a day for 5 days. Wow. Yeah, it's a 10-song record. And at the very end of all that, I started guitar overdubs, and I got a call on the phone from Myles, who I was in the building, right? And he's calling me, and I said, so what's up? And he goes, man, I tested positive. Because, we'd been testing every couple of days while we were there. Anyway, so consequently, so he went back to, we were staying in a Airbnb over there. And so we had this big place and everybody had their own room. So he went into quarantine, and then consequently Todd and Brent tested positive as well. Wow. So I was negative. Frank was negative. Dave, who produced the record, was negative. One of the engineers was positive, so we lost him. And then the other engineer was negative. So we started doing overdubs. The thing was, there wasn't a lot of overdubs to do because we did everything live anyway. Yeah. So I did the guitar overdubs in a couple of days, and I was like, okay, so now what? So we started mixing the record, waiting for the quarantine period to end. And so I went in Nashville, I managed to get vaccinated. And then a couple of days later, I went and tested positive. Ugh. And I was like, fuck, right? So now I'm quarantined. But at this point, we'd taken some microphones and some other gear over to the house, and we started doing background vocals and whatever lead vocals Myles had left in the guest house, in the quarantine mansion, as I called it. And so we got some work done. And then those guys were free and clear to go. And then since I was vaccinated, I was clear to go pretty quickly. And then we went in and mixed the rest of the record and put some percussion on and mixed it, and that was it.
Wow, that is a great story, man. Unbelievable.
Frank was the one guy that didn't catch it.
Yeah, well, good for him. I read that some of the stuff was actually recorded in the legendary RCA Studio A. For guitar lovers. That was Chet Atkins' studio. Yeah. How was it recording there for you, man? I mean, that had to have a good vibe before you all had to kind of pull out of there, I guess, right?
Well, no. Well, we stayed there for the whole thing. We did the whole record in that studio, and it had a great fucking vibe. The room was great, and the way that the room, because doing the live record where you actually record the drums and the guitars in the same room at the same time is really rare. It doesn't happen. And Dave Cobb, who is a producer, one of the things that prompted me to want to do the record with him is we had a phone conversation about, Glenn Johns and old, the way that we like the sound of all these old rock and roll records. Mm-hmm. And and he was very enthusiastic about going in and just doing it live all in the studio at the same time. So I was like, okay, I'm in. So we went into this great room, and the way that the room is it made it possible for us to have the back line right next to the drums with a couple gobos and record everything at the same time. Wow. And so that is a testament to that room. You can't do that everywhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's got a great history, great pictures on the walls that you just see every day of all these great players, and then of course Studio B is right next door, and that's sort of like a museum of the studios from the 50s and 60s, and so yeah.
Well, hopefully they'll hang a photo of you up in there now too.
Yeah, right.
I was talking about the tour you guys have kind of got laid out for February, March of 2022, a lot of casinos. But one, I guess we're going to talk a lot about Nashville today. One is you guys are playing at the Grand Ole Opry. And, in a million years, I would have never thought / Grand Ole Opry. But, now that I think about it, the way things are changing and everything, that's got such a badass vibe to it. What do you think about playing the Grand Ole Opry, man?
Well, I mean, actually, I've read up a lot on a lot of country music artists while I was over there. It was just, it sort of lent itself to that. And there are a lot of the old school country artists or something that artists that I have a lot of respect for. And so I did read a lot about the history of the Grand Ole Opry. And we actually played there once before at the very end of the last it was the last tour that we did for Living the Dream. And it was the first time I'd ever played there. And it was a great gig, and the crowd was great. And I think we managed to pull it off. So I'm looking forward to going back and doing it again. For sure.
Yeah. Talking about a lot of the issues with COVID, Myles was talking about when he listens to The River is Rising, he can start hearing it a little bit in his voice because he was congested and everything. But let's set this song up before we play it today. I mean, it is just a ball buster, man. It is, as the kids say, it's a banger, man. And I love it. So maybe tell me a little bit about this one.
Well, during COVID, I wrote a lot of new material. I was in the studio pretty much the whole time, but I demoed up a lot of stuff. But the majority of the record is stuff that was written on the last tour. Okay. I wanted to move that stuff and then save this new stuff that I was writing at present for the next record after that, because otherwise it would sit on the shelf for a long time. I didn't want that. Anyway, but Rivers Rising was actually one of the latest things that I just wrote. And I just felt like, because it was so in the moment, to put it on the record now. And it was one of the first things we did in pre-production, and it became the first song on the record.
Well, you brought up Gibson at the beginning of the show, and I know that they had gone through some troubles, with previous, people running the company. It seems like you said everything is really coming back into place. And one other thing, for the listeners that don't know this, is Gibson has started a record label, and you guys are kind of the first signing. So tell me what this is like working for a guitar company that's actually running a music label. It just shows you, again, how the music industry is always evolving, man.
Yeah, well, it was funny, the timing of it. I started thinking, because I basically have been putting out my own records and then signing up with what was Roadrunner, who was distributing the last one. Mm-hmm. And Roadrunner has sort of changed its trajectory music-wise. Right. Style wise. So I was thinking, who do I want to do have distribute the next record. And like right around that same time, I got a call from our manager saying that Gibson might be doing a label. And so we discussed it, and it just turned out to be probably the best world for us to, the best combination of people to get together and put this thing out. And I, like I said, Cesar, who's been running the company now, he's so dialed into what Gibson's all about and the guitars are all about, and about music and young artists, and just like he's very, very enthusiastic. So I thought, I'd feel really comfortable having him go out and promote this record, because he's doing so well with everything else, and I know he gets it. And I played it for him first, and all that. Yeah. So we're the first signing, so we'll see how it all goes, but I feel pretty confident about it.
Well, as you were talking about that, I mean, a guy who's pretty much seen and done it all, you ever, and wanting to help younger bands, as you mentioned, you ever thought about maybe putting on that A&R hat and maybe bringing some other artists to the label? Because I think you'd be a perfect person to do that, man.
Well, I mean, all things considered, if there was somebody that I really, because I mean, on my own, I never really wanted to get into investing into a record company, record mogul type position. But I definitely, if I saw a band that I thought is fucking amazing, I would bring it to Gibson and play it for them and see what they thought, and maybe do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. When you're recording and touring with Myles and the Conspirators, after, all the different incarnations of other things you're involved in, do you feel like this is just low pressure? You're in it to have fun. You're in it to just, get together and jam with the guys. I mean, is this kind of I hate to say the word escape, but does it just feel completely different, man?
It's just a lot of fun. I mean, initially, when we first started, I was just sort of doing a solo thing and putting a band together to go out and support that. And then when I started working with Myles on that particular record, and the Conspirators sort of happened with Todd and Brent, it was just fun for us to throw some songs together and go out on the road and tour, right? And but it's also a really, really great band from the get-go. Really a bunch of great, unique players, and we have a certain chemistry, and it has a certain sound. And so we've just been doing it based on that first idea of just getting together and going out and playing. Yeah. But we go in the studio and we write in earnest, and it comes together as a record that I would obviously want to make. And so it just becomes some sort of a simple thing: write some music, record it, go out and play.
Right. It's a perfect combination, man. Well, outside, you said you got 10 tracks on the new album. So outside of the single, maybe you could give me one more, we'll call it an artist pick, if you will, that we can also play as an extra today. That's one of your favorites on the album.
Okay. Wow. That's a tough one. Let's see. So there's a song called Spirit Love on the record that's pretty cool. It's pretty dark, but you could go ahead and play that.
You definitely will, man. To close it out today, like I said, I hope that we can get you back in Austin. Last time I saw you was at Stubbs, and our radio station that I work at here was celebrating a big anniversary show that you played there, man. So I hope you'll come back through Austin, because we love you here.
Oh, for sure. Austin is one of my favorite places to play. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah, this will be the first U.S. run, sort of, I'd love to be able to say post-COVID, but we'll say at the sort of tail end of at least the COVID mania. And so it'll be the first U.S. run, and then we'll start putting together more stuff after that, and hopefully see you soon.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the Rock 30. Always great to see you, Slash.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.